the same kind of
result. It's to put you in line, really. It's like follow the instructions.
Discipline.
It's hiding.
Yeah. It's like on every exam paper, the first line that you see is follow the instructions. It's like, yo, either you do this or you're fucked.
Literally. That's pretty much all it is.
Welcome to Room 7.
Hi guys.
As you know, Room 7 is the virtual equivalent of an insightful talk with the mates, the homies.
Yes.
And yeah, these are my homies. Let's reintroduce ourselves for those who are not familiar.
I am Miriam or Maui from the Moon. On all my social media accounts, follow me. I am a filmmaker, film student, and poet. Everyone knows. And I hope you enjoy episode today, our second episode of the new season.
Yes,
Consistency, yes.
And
Shout
you,
out.
mister, who are you?
My name's Ryan Wolf. Follow me at Instagram. Save Ryan Wolf. I do YouTube. It's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And school.
Yeah. Oh, school. We're not here to talk about school.
Oh, we are here to talk about school.
Well,
we are here to talk about school, but first,
I am Luyanda Sono. On Instagram, I'm Cosmic Concussion. On Twitter, I'm Luyanda. I don't know if I should spell that out for you guys, but you'll find it in my bio on Instagram somehow. And I am a CEO of Moving in Silence.
Yes.
So I'm not going to announce any of what I do. Any of the things I do, I came across a quote by Angela Davis, right?
Yeah.
And she says, when children attend schools that place a greater value on discipline and security than on knowledge and intellectual development, they're attending prep schools for prison.
Ooh.
So how do you guys think the education system of South Africa as is right now emulates exactly what she's talking about in this quote?
Well, I mean, she's not wrong.
She's definitely not wrong.
I guess the prison part strikes because
it kind of feels like we're working to become slaves, right?
It's,
to become workers.
modern day slavery, really.
Modern day slavery.
I feel like okay, I don't know if you guys have seen this before. You've probably heard it like in a lot of people's TED Talks or interviews. Yeah. People tend to say that the education system was initially established to kind of to produce factory workers who are efficient at obeying instructions, without thinking of opposing them or overthrowing their employers. So when she says that it's similar to a prison, it's kind of reminiscent of that, like me understanding where it comes from. And also it's evident in the way the grading system works in general. It's crazy to me how 1,000 people can receive the same type of education, but there's only a limited amount of answers that they're expected to produce when tested.
Exactly.
How? We all think differently.
1,000 minds.
1,000 minds are wired differently. We experience things differently. We learn differently, like literally of different learning styles in general. So how can you expect people who are fundamentally so different to now produce the same kind of result?
It's to put you in line, really. It's like follow the instructions.
Discipline.
It's hiding.
It's like on every exam paper, the first line that you see is follow the instructions. It's like, yo, either you do this or you're fucked.
Literally. That's pretty much all it is.
That's pretty much all it is. And it's scary for anybody like who, as a kid, and you're going into like the higher grades, high school, the environment was way different than it was in primary school. It was more like, I guess it was nurturing for me in my experience. There was a lot of wanting people to learn and wanting people to experience it fully. I mean, there were also a lot of situations that kind of scarred all of us. Interacting with people. But I feel like in high school, that's when I saw the darkness of it, the constraint and the structural way that I didn't want to fit in, because as a creative person, I didn't feel like it connected to me at all.
Mm.
So I think it's scary to reach that point, and I understand what Angela Davis said. Like, you feel like you're literally in a prison. That's how I felt in high school. So yeah, that's very true.
I feel like what education has been made out to be, is something that drains the color out of you. Like, it drains, it takes away your personality. Like, it's like it's something that was meant to program you to be gray or to be one-dimensional or to just think and act.
You are forced to fit the mold and not
become your own mold.
Not morph into your true being, just like align with whatever is required for you in the working environment. Well, prospectively, it will be.
But I would like to know, since I kind of spoke a little bit of my experience, I'm just emotional like that. What was your experience like with education in general and just like school? Just the school environment.
You go first, bro.
I want to know all the nasty stories, all the...
My thing is, and okay, I get you were trying not to fit in, right?
Yeah, I was not trying.
I kind of struggled with desperately trying to become, for example, one of the bros, one of the homies, and shit, that kind of fucked with me, because I always felt like I wasn't really enough.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with school, the mental health shit, it doesn't really matter to them, because what they're there to do is to make you do what they want to do. And you couldn't really use any school outlets for
Personal gain. Or
not so much personal gain. I get that, right? But it's more for like relief.
Oh, I see.
Like,
you're like a +1. You piggybacked onto it. So I can't really be mad at the institutional racism if the institution wasn't necessarily established to cater to me.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm just going to add. Yeah. I kind of had this weird rant a few days ago where I felt like these kind of systematic racism and everything, like it's right now we're complaining about it. Yeah, we want them to change, we want them to, include us. And I'm like, but they don't care.
Yeah, and the table wasn't erected for you.
Exactly.
It wasn't. If you want a place where you're going to fit in and thrive and be educated in a way that is relevant to your experience on this earth as a black person, you need to go to an institution that was fundamentally established
or create
for black
those
kids.
institutions.
Or create them. Yeah. Because there aren't enough of them. Because a lot of the institutions that exist now, like the public institutions that exist now, are funded by the government, right? And even then, it's more like they're not doing enough, or they're not necessarily the curriculums that are in place aren't designed for black kids. It's basically the same things that are being taught in institutions that are predominantly white, but they just give them to black institutions to say, okay, we're giving you the same level of education, but you're not educating us.
This topic on like especially the curriculum. I remember being in grade 12. And we have this English. I loved all my English teachers. Shout out to all English teachers, the best people in the world. So, and she was studying further like education. She's like, I want to study so I can change the curriculum, in some way. Because we always complain like, oh man, why do we have to read Shakespeare all the time?
Yeah.
Why don't we read like South African plays?
Or like Toni Morrison.
Yeah. Why don't we
James
read
Baldwin.
black authors or just every other race besides white?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, hape, like, the schools that were designed for white people built them and prepared them to succeed. But if you look at black schools or schools that are in predominantly black neighborhoods, some of the opportunities that you see there are limited. Yeah. For example, like there's this one school in my neighborhood and like the only two sports that are there is soccer and netball.
Damn.
And the schools that are here, they have soccer, netball, rugby, tennis.
This also reminds me of my boyfriend told me about the school he went to play rugby at. And and they had horses. They had
What
gyms.
the fuck?
And I was like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, it was a white school. I'm like, of course.
Do you see my point? Like this, we were forced to sustain ourselves, and we were put into this hole full of poverty. And
you know, when you talk about like the poverty element of it, it reminds me of the ghetto experiment that was done with the Jews. It's kind of the same thing that happened during the apartheid regime. So you know how like the Jews were basically isolated and seen as like undesirables, and like they received the worst level of everything.
Yeah, I remember
like if
that,
there's a higher grade in terms of like services and stuff like that, basic services, they didn't receive that, or basic human rights, they didn't.